When you take a look at these ornaments for Christmas, what do you notice? They're pretty colorful, they're nice, they're clean, they're shiny, but they're just not right for me. No, no, no. Let's just put this aside and make some disgusting, upsetting ones, shall we? Let's just put this aside, okay? We're going to be sculpting our own ornaments here using Super Sculpey Original. Look at this. Look how soft and pliable this is, and the flesh color. You know, it's pretty nice, and you can bake it and make it hard, so it's going to be perfect for what we need. Unlike this stuff, Monster Clay, which is wax-based, or oil-based, I should say. It's hard, and, well, if you stick this in the oven, it's going to melt everywhere. See how it melts with the blowtorch? Yeah. You don't want to use a blowtorch on Super Sculpey. Don't do that. It would not be a good idea. And to save on clay, we're going to be using some aluminum foil. And, of course, we're going to need some sculpting tools. Lots and lots and lots of sculpting tools. A little bit more. One more. We just want that one more. And out of all these, I'm probably just going to be using this one. This is my main boy right here.
You're my boy!
It can do anything, pretty much. Scrape clay off at the end here or smooth things out. Okay, let's grab some tinfoil here. We're going to be starting with the eyeball. A severed eyeball. Severed? Scooped out eyeball? An eyeball that's going to have a retina on the back end of it, right? Kind of look like a little tail, I suppose. And you're going to want to roll this tinfoil into a very hard ball, just kind of like that. Let us improvise a little bit and use a butane can to roll the clay out. Now, I don't have a clay roller, but you know, this works just fine. Or even a cup or your own sculpting tools as well. Really, anything with a little round surface works perfectly good. And then we're going to take that nice metal ball and smush the clay all around it. Oh yes. And then we're going to roll the fuck out of it. Roll it good. Just like that. Look at that. It's a little wonky, but it's going to work. Now this eyeball cannot be an eyeball without its little tail or its retina. I think that's the name. So grab a sculpting tool, poke a hole into it, get some armature wire and stick it in the butthole. And boom, look at that. We want to have something in there so the tail doesn't sag everywhere. And what we're going to do here is cut off some wire and wrap more wire around the other wire so the clay has something to grab onto. Perfect. It's slowly becoming an eye. Roll the Super Sculpey until we get a nice little tube that we're going to smash on there, mold it into the armature wire, and just kind of merge it in with the eyeball on the back end. Now, I don't really know eyeball anatomy, but you're going to want to flatten out a nice piece of clay like this. And we're going to wrap it around the circle part of the eyeball, which is going to be the part of the retina where the eyeball sits in. And this is going to hold a lot of that gross detail. And we love gross detail. Little clay tubes are going to be your best friend when you are making an eyeball like this. Roll out a couple big tubes of clay, and we're going to start from large to small, slowly adding over time. We're going to blend them all in, kind of like what we're doing here, starting with a big one, and then we're just going to work our way around adding more tubes to the eyeball. Doing this, you're gonna get that really nice kind of organic look to it. It's gonna look real, but it's not gonna look too real until we start to paint it, and then it's gonna look really real, you know? Or it's gonna look like a testicle hanging from a Christmas tree. But don't worry, this does have a testicle phase in it, and we will get through that testicle phase together. And of course, the more tubes you add to the eyeball, the less of a testicle it's gonna look. But I mean, the more tubes you add to it, I think the more gross it's gonna look. I wanted to have at least a couple of those tubes running up the circle of the eyeball there, like it's holding it in place, kind of like little fingers, because I find that kind of creepy. And I think when you look at eyes, anyways, the reference that I looked at, you can kind of see those little fingies, kind of like that. Once you're done with the bigger tubes, you're going to want to roll out smaller tubes. Now this is where we get into like the small detail that's going to really bring this eyeball to life. Adding in those smaller shapes is just going to bring more dimension to this piece, and it's going to look pretty cool. I guarantee it. Once you got them all laid out, you're going to want to take your tool and blend, 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 just like that, all pretty. And now for even more detail. You thought the detail was done?
But wait, there's more.
Oh no, there's more to do. This is probably my favorite part. I just have a little piece of wire here that I made to hold a head one time, but this works pretty well to create these like gross textures. This is what I would call the testicle phase, because it does look wrinkly, it does look veiny, and it kind of looks like what a testicle would look like outside the bag, honestly. And you're just gonna want to draw a little bit of lines here. Just go crazy with it, you know, just go with the flow, do some dabbing, pull down, push in. You're just gonna want to make it look bumpy and kind of gross. There's no wrong way of doing this. And look at that. Look how gross and beautiful that looks. God, I love that detail. Now we're done with the detail work of the eyeball. It's time to make the big toe. Oh yes. What's gross? A severed big toe. Not just any big toe, but Shrek's big toe. Form the clay into the shape of a big toe. Use your big toe as reference. Take some more clay and put it on the bottom of that toe to create kind of that toe pad. Be generous because toe pads are pretty fat and thick. We're building up mass just on the bottom of the toe where it would be severed, just to indicate more fat pad there, and it's going to give it a little bit of a crease to where the joint would be. And then on the top, we're going to add that knuckle of the big toe. Roll up a ball of clay, smush it on there, and just try and blend it in with your fingers. Your fingers are your best friend. And just work that toe around until you can pretty much see the silhouette of a toe. I drew out where that toenail was going to be on the toe itself. Take a small piece of clay and we blend it in to where the toe is. It's going to overhang like a toenail would. And this is going to be one gnarly toenail. Push in around the sides of the toenail with your sculpting tool, so it kind of looks like the toenail is embedded into the toe itself. Time to start detailing the toe a little bit here, creating some skin texture, some wrinkles underneath the toe pad, and some wrinkles on the knuckle, which I'll show you here. The toe knuckle texture almost looks like a G, but kind of broken up. And then you can see where I put the folds in underneath the toe there. Since the toe's severed, we're gonna want to cut off the bottom so it's flat. Maybe we use like snippers when we cut off Shrek's toe.
Ow!
It's always nice to give your art a bit of a backstory. All we're doing here is pushing the clay in around the edges to create kind of like a skin break here, almost like it got torn a bit. And then very lightly using your sculpting tool to create these lines on the toe. The best reference, like I said earlier, is to honestly look at your own toe, or your dad's toe, or maybe your best friend's over and you want to look at their feet for some reason. But you know what? All toes are good reference. So whatever toe you have around, grab it and look at it. Unless they say, please stop grabbing my toe, then maybe listen to them. Look at that toe. Don't you just want to stick that in your mouth and suck on it? It really is a piece of art. Now let's bake these suckers and then paint. I can honestly say I've never painted a sculpt before, so having all these paints in front of me is kind of daunting, and that sock, well, it's kind of smelly. But first, let's pick out some colors to use. Sock is not a color, but I like its persistence. A place to put our paints, and of course some paint brushes. Nice. We're going to be going back and forth between the eyeball and the toe. First up is the eyeball. I mixed in some red with some black, and it turned out the red got diluted too much. It was too dark. So we add more red to kind of create this really nice darker red. Some might call it burgundy, maybe? I don't really know my colors very well, but once we start dabbing it on to the sculpt here, it almost looks like it's like that coagulated, bloody, sticky blood color. If you know, then you know. But anyways, I really love the color of this red. I kind of wish I had like a bottle just of this color of red, because look at it, it's so nice. I think I did a pretty good job of mixing it. Probably could have done a better job, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Look how gross and disgusting that looks. Looks awesome. And then afterwards, well, it just kind of looks like a crime scene. For the eyeball, we're gonna use white. Who saw that coming? Who saw that coming? I think I'm so funny. But we just painted white. Time to get started on the toe, and why this is gonna be a Shrek toe. Well, first of all, I didn't have the colors to make a flesh tone. And as I tried to make a flesh tone, it turned into this gross, boogery Shrek green. So I thought, you know what would be better than just a regular toe? Let's have it a severed Shrek toe. You know, maybe we snuck in there and clipped Shrek toes off while he's sleeping, or Donkey bit it off. That's the story I'm going with, but I think it's pretty cool to have a severed Shrek toe hanging off your Christmas tree. I think everyone should have one of those, honestly. I mean, look at it. Looks gross. And then we take some white that we had for the eyeball and we just kind of nicely paint the nail. This is going to be one coat, and then we're going to use another color to make it look all dirty and stuff. Make sure you get behind the nail as well. I think one of the aspects I like about Super Sculpey is that you can paint it and you don't have to prime it first. I really love that. Going back to the eyeball, I painted a circular cap here to try and make a perfect circle for the iris here. And then we're going to use a brown to fill in that empty space of the circle. And oh boy, is it really hard to paint a circle. That cap did not work very well. Mixing some brown, some orange, and some green, you know, we make this lighter, kind of almost like a yellowish booger green for the nail. So this is going to be like a very dirty nail. Because, you know, well, Shrek is dirty. I can only imagine what his feet look like. So he's going to have some fungus growing on this nail here. If you have a toe fetish, this is one toe you would not want to lick. And obviously, you can't have a severed toe without a little bit of blood, of course. The blood is really gonna make things pop on this toe. Those small little areas where the skin tore, we're gonna paint those red as well. It's gonna be a nice contrast with this green. And paint the red on the edges of the toenail bed. Back to the eyeball. Now, eyeballs, they have these like weird lines underneath the iris, right? So I did my best to use some brown, use some white, using a very, very light touch. This was a little bit more difficult than I thought to try and create those lines. And this is not my favorite part, honestly. I didn't like how this turned out. You know, I could have went back over it, but painting eyes is very difficult. And then we just take some black here and we paint on the little pupil. I mean, it looks like an eye. If you show this to anybody, you'd be like, hey, what do you think this is? I would hope they'd be like, well, that looks like an eyeball. A scooped eyeball. Hopefully that's what they would say. Now, to seal everything and make it look all beautiful and sleek, and also make the blood look sticky and gross, we're using some varnish that I got from Michael's, and we're just gonna paint it on. Make sure you don't inhale this stuff because it's not good for you. You'll feel a little lightheaded and you might get a good high, but you'll feel sick afterwards. And we're just painting on one coat just to seal everything in. And as you can see, you know, the eyeball is starting to look a little bit more like grotesque, especially with all that detail, right? And we're just trying to make sure that it doesn't drip everywhere. And the very last thing that we have to do is we gotta put them on the tree, of course. Thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!